just at the city limit sign north of Albemarle. Albemarle's a big city here. I guess the population's about 27,000. My dad used to always say that they should add a little sign to this sign that says Albemarle, where bootleggers and preachers all vote the same. So you know how Stanley County's always been a dry county. We're going to take you on a little tour of the city, not necessarily in any type of order, but just as we come to some of the things that are interest we think you might like to see back home. Okay, we're coming up on the first home place, I guess, that Kenneth and David ever knew. This is where we bought a house and we moved it. And then we added the second level. Stop, Dave, just a second. This is the top level was the existing little house, and we jacked it up in the air and we made a basement underneath the house down there. And we did a lot of work right down in through this area, through the back. Stop, please, David. Putting in pipes and whatnot. The old basketball goal post is still there, but there's a different net and backboard on it. See the magnolia tree in the back? We dug that up over at the Albemarle Senior High School. It was not more than maybe 6 inches tall, but goodness gracious, look at how large that thing is now. It's huge. Then we had this cherry tree that we planted just down here to the right. There's a little doghouse that Kenneth and I built a long time ago, still sitting right out there in the woods. There were some pecan trees and walnut trees that we planted. This whole area right through here was a garden spot. We dug up for gardening and whatnot. And I'm hanging out a door window, so we're a little jumpy. In the front yard, we can still see, of course this is the winter months, but you see we've got a dogwood tree that Sharon had planted. Okay, Dave, you want to go on real slow? Actually, the house could use some painting too. And they still have never paved the road in the side here. It goes around to the side. Back here's a little old building. See that little old rusty building? Way back here in the back. We're coming up closer on it now. But Paw Ford and I built that building, and we listened on the radio, and I believe that was about the time that Elvis Presley died too, wasn't it, Daddy? That building's been there a long time. Basically all we're trying to do is give you a little view of the first house that Kenneth and David lived in. Right here's a plum tree. Boy, look how that thing has grown. That thing has become gigantic. Alright, we're standing out here in the middle of this graveled road. One last pan view here of the house. Up on top of the hill is the Griffins, where they, a much older couple, lived across the street from us, and I presume that they're still there. And then right up this way was Steve Meisenhammer and his wife Tamara and Chris, a boy between the ages of Kenneth and David. His dad drives for a truck company, and I don't see any signs of anybody out there right now. A lot of cars in the driveway. Then there was another boy, a little younger than Kenneth, and I believe he was even younger than David. His name was Darnell, and Larry lives on the other side up there. This used to be a bunch of woods, but the guy that bought that house right there cleared this lot off and left it kind of like a little playground area. But this is the old neighborhood. This is where Kenneth and David grew up. And it's right off of Highway 52. Well, as we come on around the road, we come up to Sharon's grandmother's house, who lives up on top of a high hill. Really pretty home place it's up here, overlooking some really scenic terrain back in the back. And I guess this is where Sharon's father, Dewey, grew up a lot in this neighborhood too. But they lived real close to us, just around the corner. One year Kenneth got a go-kart for Christmas, And they're so close. When Dewey was over at our house, we told Dewey just to take the go-kart and come on over and see his mother. And so he jumped on the go-kart and he flew around the road and came up here and turned around and came back. And as he was coming back, somebody had seen him on the road earlier and they called the sheriff's department. So the sheriff pulled him and off on the side of the road and made him get off the go-kart and put him in the squad car and brought him on back down to our house. And we later had to go up and get the go-kart. Briars and bushes here. I know you have no idea what this is. At one time this used to be the best garden spot in Albemarle. This is behind Sunset Motel. Sharon and I cleaned that off, that bank, and we had a garden up there. Back down on the other side, this is a steep embankment. You can see the corner there of the motel. Comes all the way down. This is where Kenneth grew up a lot. We lived at Sunset Motel. Sharon and I returned from the Air Force in Germany. The first place we actually lived outside of our parents' home was Sunset Motel. There's an apartment right back in here where we lived for a while. I think actually we had a room 17 where we put all our stuff in. But then there was this apartment here, there was one on the other side, one up in the corner, so we moved around quite often here at the motel, each time trying to get a little bit bigger motel rooms for the kids and living space. This motel is, at the time, there were only two in Albemarle. There was the Sunset Motel and the Heart of Albemarle Motel. Right straight up this hill, directly behind where that microwave dish is another apartment which we lived in for quite a while. There's a swimming pool right on the other side of that dumpster. We'll see that in a minute. And here's the restaurant where I spent a lot of time working, and I guess that's probably where Kenneth got some of his cooking skills inherited, although he never worked in there. I couldn't get him to even wash a dish. Kenneth was just real small when we lived here, and David was not yet born. Moving now, David's driving and I'm hanging out the door. We do a lot of that. But here's the front of the restaurant, and we're kind of close, but as we get on up, we can see from the road, they've changed it now, it's called the Lion's Inn, but we're going up the highway. You can go a little faster, Dave. Here's the swimming pool. Up here's the offices. And then that's the end of the motel. Well, we've come all the way from the north end of town over here. I guess this is considered East Albemarle, isn't it? To where Sharon grew up and the first house that she lived in. I know I've seen some still pictures of this. It looks like I remember seeing a snow fort or something right out here on the front lawn at one time or other. It's not quite cold enough to snow today. But Dave, if you'll drive on real slow, we'll just ride right past the house here. This is Carolyn Drive, is that correct? We're at street address, Dave. We're at Sharon's house that she grew up in. Teresa grew up here for a few years, and Fran grew up here. Stop right here, Dave. Let me see if I can get a few still shots. Bump, bump, bump. We'll go up and knock on the door. I don't believe anybody's home. Pecan trees. Sharon used to always tell me about the pecan trees they had here. And they did have some nice old trees. Going around, Dave, real slow so I don't fall completely out of the door. And I believe they've added a swimming pool in the backyard of this house now. There wasn't a swimming pool here at that time. Go on. Okay, we're going to go around the side. Just keep on going, Dave, real slow. Keep on going, Dave. Yeah, there's a swimming pool back there. I thought there was. And that's where Sharon grew up. Well, we went from the old house to the new house. And we're down here in the corner of 6th Street and Park Road where the new house is. This house was built, I guess about 15 years ago, something like that. Sharon really never lived here. Teresa lived here for a short time. Nice set of hedges and a nice little creek that Matthew likes to play in down there and throw rocks in. When I was a little kid, this street wasn't even here, 6th Street. There was just woods, and we had built a bridge to come from right back up in this area where Russell Helderman has his place. Across through here, it was all woods, and we had a path, and then we had a little bridge built right across the creek. And the creek is right back in the back of Dewey's property. It runs, you can see the water running a little bit right there, and it runs back up through that direction. But it used to flood a lot through here before this house was here and before this new bridge was built, and we would ride on logs right down this road. Now the old road was here, Park Road was here. Of course, when I was a little bitty kid, this hill was a lot steeper than it is right now. Somehow or other it just seemed to be a huge hill, and we used to set our race cars up there on the top, little soapbox derbies, and we would come down this road and all the way to a finish line. None of these houses were in here that you're looking at right now. All of these houses were built by Dewey later on. This road wasn't here, that road wasn't there. Now that house was there. That was old Gerald Whitley's house that I grew up with. He now lives in Collierville. Of course, I don't believe they had the tennis courts there or anything when Gerald lived there, but the people that moved in later. The road stopped right in here. That's all old road, and then the apartment buildings that Dewey built. We're just kind of going around in a circle, and I'm tripping and falling over a lot of the stuff on the ground here. But this is the neighborhood that Dewey lives in right now, and we'll go back around and we'll get some more shots of the house at different angles. Okay, now we're at the top of the hill looking back across. Dewey's got a lot of trees in his yard, something I wish we had in Tennessee, which we don't have. Way back in there is the creek. And a little later on, after we get through shooting the outside of all of these homes, we'll go and shoot the inside. We're going to go back now up to my mother and daddy's house, which is at the top of the hill, right down at the end of the street and right on up to the top of the hill up that way. Okay, now we're up at my mother and dad's place. Originally when they moved here, and I was born and raised here, this was Peggy Joe Park, and I believe it was 123 Hillcrest. Then they changed it to Linwood Drive. It changed names a couple of times. They never moved, but their address kept changing. Russ and I both were raised right here in this neighborhood. And I walked down this street, and back over yonder we'll get a little bit better picture is the high school that I went to. Through those trees, which you can't see through, I don't believe now. But I'll just try to turn around in a complete circle, and that way you can see the whole neighborhood. I'm standing out in the middle of the road. You can do that in Albemarle. There's no cars. And let's walk around to the back. Hard to walk and video at the same time. It's hard to talk and video at the same time because you make everything jump and become very kind of bumpy and rough. The window was my bedroom, actually mine and Russ's. The carport was added on when I was little. Originally the carport was not there. Here's another one of those magnolia trees that was planted from about 6 inches and grew to that size. And since then Dad's added a little red barn in the backyard. All of these are woods. These woods are kind of landlocked. There's no road or any way to build any houses back in there. Some of these houses you probably saw way back in there. You saw from Sharon's dad's house. As a matter of fact, you probably could see his house if we walked around to the lower edge of this lot, and we'll see if we can do that. Behind that magnolia back there is the garden. Here's the garden. It's kind of wintry. There's some greens, but Daddy usually has a pretty good garden there. And let's see, back up there is his barn, little red building that he put together. I heard the back door open. Somebody came out. Well, I guess they're camera shy. I think they came out and heard us and went back in. Oh, there is somebody. There's the owner of this real estate. You're in the movies.
Yeah.
You want to wave to us?
Some garlic out there.
Garlic?
Yeah.
Is that to keep the warlock? What is it? That keeps vampires away.
Yeah, get a picture of the garlic coming up out there.
Where is it?
Stuff out there.
Right there, all that green stuff's garlic?
Well, this is garlic here, mixed in with sage. Along over there's garlic too.
Yep. That's what you gave me. Some of that, huh?
Yeah.
And that's turnips?
It's mixed greens. There's some turnips in with it.
Are there any turnips out there now?
Little bitty ones.
Up in there, as Daddy pointed out. I don't know if you can see it. Wow, we made that turnip look huge. Okay, we've moved back into the house now. And here's a portrait of a bunch of little kids. And I'm sure nobody recognizes them. Daddy, you got to tell me. From which one's you?
Starting on the right, the first one is me.
Who's the guy standing next
That's
to you?
my oldest brother, Theodore.
Theodore.
And the next is
The baby in
the
the
baby of the family at that time, Arthur, in the baby carriage.
Arthur.
Arthur. And then the next is my sister. And the next
Is that Sue?
yeah. And the next is Robert.
Robert. How old were y'all there? You got any idea?
I must have been around 4 or 5 years old.
When was this picture made then? If you were 4, that'd been about what, 1920?
11 and 4 would be 15, 1915.
1915. And this is a black and white photo. What we're going to try to do is this is a photo, so I'm going to move the camera around and see if we can maybe zero in a little bit on some of them. I think I can go to a micro shot. We're on a manual focus here, so we're trying to get a clarity of everybody. That baby is just kind of fuzzy. Tell you what, we're going to see if we can go to a real close-up. We weren't able to do much better with that other photo, but here's a photo of the First Baptist Church, and this is trying to make a picture off of a picture. In the viewfinder, it looks like it's coming out pretty good. I just having a difficult time getting the whole shot in. Yeah, having a tough time getting the whole shot in. This is the same card that they used for the Christmas card though this year. Well, here's the clock we sent from Germany while I was stationed over there in the Air Force. I'm going to get it in a little while to where maybe we can get it to chime for you. As you saw, it was just 5:15, but it sits up on the mantle and it's placed in the Ford home.
Amen, yeah.
Get your place in
I think we
Let's
missed
see, yeah,
Mom.
put your plates in
so
here, honey.
she-
Let them go.
Live!
with their plates.
From the Ford Palace in Albemarle, North Carolina.
the Ford Palace.
We've got Mama Ford, we got Kathy Ford, We got David Ford.
Oh, dear.
We got Brian Ford.
Now listen,
Paw
that is turkey
Ford.
barbecue. I want
Matthew Ford. Who else here?
cold sauce and put over it.
Russ Ford.
Since someone had left
Carolyn
Thanksgiving on the
Ford.
road.
So we can get right in. Right.
Oh, did I get a spoonful? Yeah, I did. I got one.
Can I do it?
And so, right after supper, we're all going out to Walmart and buy a VCR so we can see this.
The one that you can't play it back on.
Yeah, but I don't have the cord.
Oh.
And it costs like $50 to get the set of cords that we need.
Dad.
That's kind of ridiculous.
I need cords on.
Huh?
Can I
Get a
record?
VCR from Walmart.
Where is it?
What's for supper?
About
Where's
$50
Sharon?
worth of cords to use one.
Can I record this?
See, Kenneth couldn't come with us this trip, so he wanted to be sure that we could see what he was missing.
So he bought.
We have the Christmas tree. Man, this little battery is already going weak. Oh, we found somebody. There he is. There's Matthew. We want to see if we can get the clock striking.
It's good.
I don't know what the information was.
Dad, can I record my food?
Huh? That's David eating. Everybody wants to see David chewing.
Can I record my food?
Huh?
Can I record my food?
Yeah.
Concept today of how Charlotte
Jerry, can't
This is.
will look.
Huh? I gotta do the Teresa thing, you know.
Can't you let them get through with this?
Yeah, go ahead eating. That's Matthew. This is the Christmas meal here. Here's Matthew eating. Oh, how gross. Open your mouth real big. Let's see what we got in there. Oh, God, it's terrible. You got a cavity.
Well,
And back here we've got Brian somewhere. Yeah, there's Brian chowing down. See how we walk, the camera just jogged, huh? And then we got Kathy over here. This is so for later on when we're real old and gray, we can look back and say, God, look how young Kathy was. Her hair is not all white and streaked with gray.
The lowest they've been probably in 3 years, and they're going to continue to be that way.
All right, we're going to go eat. We'll do some more of this nonsense later.
He said there was a nursery up at, it's on that.
Are we supposed to be singing Christmas carols or something?
There's a lady coming in the store wanting to know if the meat was real. It's just that I'm excited.
Hallelujah.
If we sliced it there.
It looks to me like everybody ate too much supper.
Oh, I believe we had something besides what we
Grocery
eat.
stores and all that were kind of real pink.
Russell, where'd you put the names?
On the backside of the car.
There is a brand that is.
He worked on these
Well, the
about
ones I
half
look
a
like
day.
look like they were supposed to be red, but
Kenneth.
But I believe this is the first Christmas Kenneth hadn't been with us.
Huh?
This is the first Christmas Kenneth
Well,
hadn't been
everybody
with us.
needs to
And the
say
first-
Merry Christmas to Ken then.
Kathy,
Hello,
Kathy,
Ken.
where are you? You see what he gave a little teddy bear. He had a lot of fun doing this. Sharon?
Are you gonna record them?
Huh?
Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
Here you go.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mom, open your present.
Well, sweetie, I'm gonna try to find yours. David? Bless his heart. Well, let me see. I'm gonna see if I can't find yours. Yours would have a little thing on it,
And
yeah.
that's bear.
Yeah, that's probably it, yeah.
That's it.
You are Matthew. Yeah, I bet he's already found it. That's it. He knew it before I even saw the name.
Mom, you wanna see mine?
You buy something what you like. If I would buy it, it wouldn't fit you and you wouldn't like it. And
Tear it up.
I'm not good.
Make a mess.
Okay.
Russ.
yeah, Carolyn won't even buy her clothes anymore.
You don't buy.
You don't buy Kathy clothes.
A letter.
A letter.
Gerald Ford. Your name Gerald Ford.
Oh, thank you.
A letter.
Gerald.
Ooh.
Holy!
Matthew, I know what we can use this on.
Yeah.
VCR.
Let's see if
Everybody at work calls.
Somebody's hiding back here. I keep hearing them.
Get something.
let's see.
Yeah, I know. What are those? What are they?
Here's Russ Ford
Yeah,
from Jerry and
we've
Sharon.
lost Kenneth.
I can't remember what we bought. That's terrible.
Kevin Ford
It's been
from
so
Jerry
long, I
and
can't
Sharon.
remember.
Are we sure I want to open it?
I know it, I'm embarrassed.
What was it?
I can't
very
remember
good.
what we bought.
Well, we got Russ.
I can't.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh yeah, that was when we were getting panicky over the earthquake.
So we figured it might come this way.
I figured you could always use another one of those.
Yeah. Oh, that plugs in there.
That plugs into your wall. That's one of those deals you keep in the wall all the time, and then when your power goes off, you got a flashlight.
Yes, me.
Yeah.
From here,
Thank
from
you.
Brian and Kathy.
Oh, wonder what it could be. Close.
Yeah, we got him some clothes.
Momo. I guess I'm Momo. I reckon.
Cool, man.
Momo and Pawpaw.
Hold it up. Let's get a look.
Pawpaw.
Turn it around.
Oh, man.
All right. Simpsons.
It's big so you can wear it.
Wow. He loves the Simpsons. He's got all the dolls.
Must have known he loves Bart.
Oh yeah. He's got all the baby dolls.
The dolls.
Thanks, man.
There's a race here. Kathy's slower than Brian, I can tell.
Hello.
Brian's working a lot faster.
Sharon.
It's a race to see who gets it first.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
It has to be home.
I don't think that box has anything to do with it, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. We figured you needed a workout.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
You're welcome. Let's see, did we get it open? Yay! It took forever. We figured your daddy had a big one, you needed a little one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jerry, are you going to stop filming and open a present?
Huh?
It says 2 candles for Brian.
Oh, okay.
Open it up, man.
I'll open it. Can I open it?
No.
Maybe you won't need that alongside of the road though, Brian.
I don't know.
Huh?
You have to go for a walk.
Maybe I'll have to change the plan.
Walk like this.
Thank you, Sharon and Jerry.
Uh-huh.
Check it out,
Well,
dude.
What is that? Oh, that's some more of them keep warm at night sheets, huh?
You know they are
ones
warm
that you hold,
too.
and then Jerry said, "Oh, she'd have to hold them all the time.
What's
Let's get these that strap on."
Here. To Russ and Carolyn. Jerry and Sharon. Russ and Carolyn. We already got it.
Well, it kind of got torn on the way because in our van it was packed tight.
Yeah, this is kind of a family gift.
Woo! What's this thing here?
Hey,
Eat
Daddy.
on the way.
Mother, Daddy, Russ and Carolyn.
Who's Mother and Daddy?
That's Mama and Papa.
It's that good. What in the world is that?
I'm having to do a lot of this so Kenneth will feel like he's a part of it. So.
Well, do you want me to open this gift then?
Yeah, open his gift for him. Let him see what it is.
We want him to feel at home.
Popcorn.
It's all sealed up. Should I unseal it?
Jerry and Sharon.
There, right.
Russell? I don't know what that is.
Then they go to waistline.
Momo, Brian, from Brian.
I want to get 2 things. That's awesome.
My, we got too many. Oh my goodness.
Here, take a chair.
But it's
Jack in
back
the
in the
box.
box.
Yeah, take Jack in the box.
Well, I'll let Russell have one. My goodness, what in the world could this be?
VCR.
Oh,
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
my gracious, save me morning.
I'll play with it.
Gee, that's too pretty. I hate to open it.
What are you going to do? Wait until next Christmas?
Russell, look on them tags there.
That went down pretty good, didn't it?
What this is.
Hey Matthew, sit down please. Sit down somewhere.
It's a VCR. How about that?
Russell, you got a knife?
I can.
Coming by. Dave, you got to talk the whole time you're doing it.
You don't have to talk the whole time.
I got to get a knife.
Other people's supposed to talk.
Let me get a
Will
knife.
that fit?
Yeah.
What you got, Papa?
Is that the right
Jerry always
size?
talks.
Will that fit? It probably will. I don't know. If it don't, we'll have to Makes you go on the diet.
You'll have a county seat,
Let me get
store is.
Me and Kenneth have a lot of sweaters like that, Papa. Me and Kenneth have a lot of sweaters like that.
That's why I asked. This is a sweater we gave him.
We were hoping it'd be something you could use.
Hello, hello.
Kenneth and David like
Hey.
close from the county seat.
Oh, that's got a serious knife there.
Oh, watch out. Jerry, that's rude.
No, it's red.
It's rude for you to drop it on people.
Red.
Matthew, back up. Mama's got a butcher knife.
Dad, watch out.
I
You
do get
better
kinda
not
wild
That's why
sometimes.
I'm telling you why. Mama is coming to town.
With a knife.
Yeah.
Russell, am I-
Bingo.
Thank you.
It is a
Come here. Your name's on it anyway. Here.
Oh, we passed the butcher knife.
At least she's not
Oh,
doing
you should just rip open now.
You should just cut somebody.
My.
Dude.
What in the world is it? Oh my, that's pretty. What in the world is
A
it?
bed mattress?
What is it? It's pretty.
No.
I thought it was a VCR.
Real to the surface.
For a real tiny room.
Your bathroom? That's pretty. Whatever it is.
Dad, holy!
Oh, good.
It's a rug.
I noticed that we're about out of a complete set.
Carpet, yeah.
We have coffee at our house now. It's all different. Yeah. Well, it's not even all GM anymore. It's GM from. If it's GM from a whole bunch of different.
That's pretty. What size did it say?
Yeah, we'll let you film a little bit.
Well, it has to be cut now
We'll go
anyway.
get some hot chocolate
Real
too.
pretty.
I brought some
you.
scissors along so we could cut it out.
Thank you for
You want
this.
us to?
Let me see. I hadn't even seen it with these.
Whatever it is.
what is it to be? Oh, that'd be neat. Hey, we need some of that.
Yeah.
Oh, Drew, what color do we have?
David,
Yes, sir.
let Matthew do just a little bit.
Hey, not
There's
little.
tan throughout the house.
Pause it and let Matthew do just a little.
Recorded.
Square your body.
Recording. But now you can't dance now.
Square your body up.
You gotta do slow.
Matthew, sure tilt.
Well, it'll be a little bit lopsided, but that's all right.
There you
better
are,
than
America's
him.
funniest
It's
video.
better than him dropping the camera.
Yeah, no, you gotta move slow.
Move real slow,
If
Matthew.
you move real fast, we'll get drunk when we watch it.
I bet you will.
Matthew, look at Mama.
Oh, how pretty. Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
look
whatever it
pretty.
is, it sure is pretty.
It's like a ski sweater. You gotta go skiing, Mama.
Oh, well, okay.
Jerry. Uh-huh.
I'll see if I can
Where's Papa? Don't
make a
know.
point. Mother.
You don't me go on Mars in a cast.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Because I don't think it's long enough.
Hello, Dad.
Hello, Matthew.
Merry Christmas.
Must be,
Merry Christmas, Matthew.
Let me see that money.
No, that's mine.
All right, bring it over here.
My box.
Stop it.
If not, you're gonna look awfully silly standing there holding your pictures.
Saying I'll go
Where you
buy
want this
some.
picture, Mother?
Yeah, I mean,
Is that for you?
You're that kid.
Say hey.
Hey Ken, are we really rolling or are you?
Yeah, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, she got a t-shirt.
Would you like to show Ken what you got for Christmas? After I just packed it all up. Yeah, unpack it. Show him the short.
Oh, isn't that pretty?
Yay.
Yay! Chicago Bears. You'd probably look good in that.
Well, thanks.
Yep.
Move your hair.
Look good in it too.
There. Isn't she pretty?
I know. What am I supposed to do with it? If you move it.
If you haven't guessed by now, Kenneth, we're in Dewey's living room, and we haven't yet seen the Christmas tree. Move, Matthew. He can't see the Christmas tree. There's the Christmas tree, and here are the Christmas presents, and there's what's his face, and here's more presents, and we really haven't got started doing any of our. There's Vonda. We haven't started doing any of our Christmasing yet, nor have we eaten. We're still waiting on the arrival of Dave Senges and Mike Fusoni and Michael Fusoni, who are out hitting the old ball, whacking the old ball. But Pam's going to go. She's got to go to work tonight at 5 o'clock. She's a working girl. Pam, I was talking to her last night, and she's telling me that she's thinking about, her mama's not thinking about it, but she's thinking about going to Delta to be a airline stewardess. Her mama doesn't know, but I've already contacted Annette Thomas, who's the head flight attendant for Delta, and I've gotten her appointment one day next week. I'll have to get with her later on that. But,
Is this true? Ken, this is not true. I went with her to the airport and we picked up an application for Delta, so I do know.
Is this true?
Yeah, I've thought about it.
However,
nothing is
after you
definite.
get your college degree, right?
Not necessarily.
At the same time, then.
she could meet a nice rich pilot and live happily ever after.
What's the other present?
That's fine. There's no problem with that. I took 4 years off. I went 1 year to college, and then I took 4 years off, and then I went back.
Yeah, but you're in the Air Force, right?
I did. Kenneth's gonna. We're not sure. Kenneth might not go back next semester. He may want to work a little bit. I don't know. We're not real sure what Kenneth's gonna do either.
He said he wanted that piece of paper. He told me.
But it may take him a while to get it. He's still got a 4-year start on me. Actually, 5-year start on me.
I think it's going to take him 7 more years to graduate.
Well, I figured that Kenneth and David might graduate at the same time.
Well, when David got out of the Air Force, he worked a year and then went back to college. And the kids there thought he was one of them, and they asked him to pledge a fraternity.
What?
Because they saw his ring.
Well, did David go a year to college before he went in service?
A year and a half.
A year and a half, and then went in.
And he partied too much, and his dad said either you get out of college or you
Yeah.
get with
I think that's okay. There's no problem with dropping out of college to work a little bit if you want to. If you want to go back to college, I always keep that as a goal.
I tell you what, though, it's easier just to go on and get it over with and get it behind you and get on with it. And
Nah.
then do what you want to.
Get out of the car.
Yeah, it's hard to go
Except
back
you'll make
once
better
you're out.
grades when you go back.
You will.
Because you'll be mature and you'll know that.
I did. I was on Dean's List every semester
David
afterwards.
did too. He
Every
did
minute
much
counts.
better
You
when
don't
he went
waste time when
Is
you
that
go
your
back.
camera?
back. Yeah, but I tell you
All right, we've moved around to the other side of the room, Kenneth. I don't know if you remember this woman right here, this wild and woolly woman right here.
Oh, yeah.
That's Hope. Hope, who you got with you?
This is Gordon. Gordon.
Hey, Gordon.
Hi.
Where's Gordon from?
Everywhere.
San Antonio and right outside of Pittsburgh, but he lives in
A Yankee?
Oh yeah. And a Southerner.
He's mixed up, kind of like Dad.
And you're in Concord now, Hope?
Yeah,
With Collins and Aikman up there.
right. Collins and Aikman. Yay.
in Faith,
Faith.
right?
Yeah, well, they're going to build us a new place in Salisbury.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we'll have a new place this summer.
Close your mouth, Amanda.
New home. It says dueling cameras.
I don't know. This happens on the stairs now.
Do you guys feel like y'all are stars?
Oh, there's TC. There's TC filming TC.
How are you? Wish you could be here
Wait till
on the camera. Talk
yeah, wait till Mike Fusoni gets in. We'll have 3.
Kenneth's the only one that's not here this year.
Yeah.
They're gonna take
We're having a lousy time too,
You blew it.
Kenneth.
You blew it.
a picture of taking a picture.
Yeah.
Pam, what'd you get?
Good to get this the third time. I got let me just tell you.
Yeah.
I got a Chicago Bears t-shirt.
Ooh.
Fonda likes that.
bet she does.
Wow.
And
To me to do anything with all the
Matthew wants to play a song. All right, what you playing?
I don't know. What is it, Dave?
Heart and soul.
Heart and Soul.
That's your chance, Pam.
There goes Pam. See, stand up. Okay.
I just told
What
him.
is it? It comes like this and you go.
Yeah. So all you can see is the song. Last month at the house was so funny. Teresa's making him go change clothes for church. And he did like that. First he started stripping and throwing clothes out into the hall.
Yay! It's been bad, so it's time to make him disappear for the rest of the day. Hey, no more Matthew.
There's some Coors, whatever. There was a lot of stuff. And in walks Jerry. only the second time first time I seen him since this little incident. Jerry walks in the door and went, I said, do you remember? Shut that thing off! Oh, that was wild. It was
I
kind
can't
of
find the
crazy.
movie,
You being
babe.
pregnant, huh?
Where's that movie that had Brittany's #2 birthday on it?
Babe, I could not begin to
Help
tell.
me.
It really is.
That's Peter Pan.
Where's all the stuff you brought from the hotel?
That's it. But that wasn't in there.
Out of my way.
Finally,
Busy with the camera.
finally. The only guy didn't have on film.
I thought you left.
Dude. Wishful thinking, Gordon.
It's Michael.
He says he's leaving and he doesn't leave.
I don't think you're going to be as sad as Teresa about that.
Yeah, I heard
Worse.
you were looking for somebody to run
Remember
against.
how Teresa drove us nuts?
Yeah, sure did.
Worse.
Are you
Well, we don't
saying
have
goodbye to Vonda?
We don't have time now, but
Leave her here.
next time I'm in town, I'll have my shoe.
Okay.
There's not a lot
Like
of
100-yard dash.
narrative in this particular type of filming. It's mainly just for posterity. So we'll remember what he looked like. He's got a worm on his nose.
Side view.
He won't turn around. That's the whole thing.
Other side.
Bye-bye song with
Uh-huh.
Zonny Bird.
That's what I was talking about earlier. He's got her trained and vice versa. They both walk up and
Fancy like this.
Is he going to open his presents or is he just going to take them with him?
Take him with him.
Oh, I wanted him to, especially that jockey underwear.
Well, let's say goodbye.
You gonna give me a
The reds and the blues.
See you, cuz.
Reds and the blues and the pinks.
I got cheese.
It'll probably be the
What'd you
summer
get, babe?
before we see you.
Vonda, your gifts are on the table over there.
Ow! Don't do my thumb.
See you, buddy.
After they leave, can we just blow out Brittany's candles?
Whitney.
Okay, can you go ahead?
You awake?
Well, he shakes a long time, doesn't he, Matthew?
I got
Now you got a karate kick.
That's right.
Can y'all take a second?
Matthew, you're not to blow them.
Can y'all take a second to sing happy birthday?
Happy birthday to me!
Okay, ready?
Ready,
It's a
go.
little birthday girl.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brittany. Happy birthday to you.
Blow the candles out.
Yeah.
Blow the candles out, Brittany.
Can you blow them out, Brittany?
Just blow.
Go ahead. Can you blow them?
Amanda?
I bet Amanda and Matthew will help you.
Amanda, pull the cake back a little bit closer to her so she can reach it.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Okay, Brittany, blow. She's still
Come on,
asleep.
Brittany.
Brittany, blow candles.
Blow the candles out.
Y'all help her. Go ahead.
Can you help her?
Hey!
You filming it?
We did that later, earlier.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, I know.
No! No! Help me!
Hey, she can look at it. She can look at it.
Well, who would like a piece of birthday cake?
Are we having cake now or later? How about later?
Later's fine with me.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Michael.
Bye, my kid!
Bye, Vonda.
Don't put
Bye,
your
guys.
fingers
Ain't
in
mine.
See y'all in the back.
Go!
Bye.
Yeah, get up the presents back. Let's go over the presents first.
Okay, we're gonna open presents.
Here I am trying to film.
Wait, hold on.
Brittany, don't open it yet, Brittany.
I think that Amanda and Matthew can pass out the gifts if everybody will find a seat so they'll know where to take your gifts.
David!
No, that was almost that. But we found one for
Just open it.
We
found one for you.
You'd think it was Christmas or
Here's one
something.
for Brittany. Here you go.
Who was that? What is that?
Daddy's!
Batteries.
Don't open it until we get them all passed out.
Batteries.
Oh, we gotta get them all passed out.
Yeah.
Batteries.
That's
Matthew,
only
wrap it back
fair.
up.
Wrap it back up.
Where's Fran and Mike sit? Are y'all
Why
there?
don't we move those bags?
On the heart, that's where I always sit.
There's the Christmas tree right there.
Let's move these bags.
Jerry, move the bags out of the way.
Why don't we move these bags?
Because they're in my way.
Where do you want to move them? On the floor. How about near the Christmas tree?
We're not opening yet. We're just
We're not opening.
moving them along first. Can we just wait?
Well, we already got some of these.
Hey, how about that?
Nobody seems to be moving.
She wants to know.
This is
Huh?
Y'all open those and I don't get to see who they're from. I hate it when we always
Daddy,
hurry.
look!
Okay, what's the deal here?
Oh man, you got you a neat looking one there.
Yes!
Oh man.
Wow, what neat.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Jerry.
Here's one for Kenneth to go home with you, Dad.
You're welcome.
Kenneth, and that's yours.
That is
Matthew, friend, Mike needs all the balls he can get.
Actually, you have.
Open the big one. I want to see how embarrassed you can get.
I hear falling.
I'll wait for Mike.
Uh-huh.
Cat over there, Papa.
How about that?
Bubba.
How about
Who else heard you do good?
that? Do it, don't.
Roger Williams, I don't know if you listened to him a couple months ago. Roger Williams, you remember the beautiful piano music when I was around?
Yeah. Okay, let's see who it's from. This is from Fran. You go ahead and open it.
That kind of hard for it to open, Papa.
That's all right. It'll take a while.
Oh, that's right.
Well, we're back up at the Ford house. This is kind of like a yo-yo effect. One day we're, when we come in, we're usually a couple of hours at Dewey's house and a couple hours up at my folks' house. And so we're sitting here talking to Daddy. And I can see if I can get him to tell us a little bit about the Ford family, if he knows anything, because I don't know a lot. Tell me, because this is going to be for posterity now, so Kenneth and David all know. Tell me how many brothers and sisters you had, and where y'all were all born and raised. Now, I guess it was all right here in Albemarle, wasn't it?
Well, there were 6 of us boys. Every one of us had a sister. And she really caught it.
So there were 7 kids.
Yeah.
And who was the oldest?
JT, here you go.
JT, and then how'd it come down?
Robert, me, Sue, Arthur, Leon, and Everett.
My granddaddy, which was your, was Robert Wesley.
Yeah.
And he spelled his name when he was a little boy, F-O-A-R-D, and he's the one that took the A out later in his life, and we became
Yeah.
F-O-R-Ds, is that right?
Yeah.
And then who was his father? Which would have been your granddaddy.
Yeah, and Jesse Clark.
Jesse Clark.
He was war between the states. What was that? A
Civil War?
Civil War, yeah. Veteran. He went all through the war, didn't get a scratch. After the war's over, he went home and was using some dynamite and blew one of his legs off.
That's kind of ironic. Well, didn't you say that Grandpa Ford at one time worked down on the river spraying mosquitoes or something?
Yeah, he helped clear the lake down there.
And if I'm correct, he had an old kerosene lantern, didn't he? You remember when Mama and
Yeah.
Papa Ford, that little building? Actually, I guess it was right when they both died. And we went down there, and in that little building out in the back, we went through there, and there was an old kerosene lantern. You remember that old lantern?
Yeah.
And is that the one he used on the river, you reckon? Or is that just in that barn?
No, I don't think he ever used the lantern down
Well, I still got that old kerosene lantern. It's at home in that little building Kenneth and David and I built in Collierville. I don't know if they've ever seen it or not. When we were camping out, somebody threw a rock and it busted the globe, and I think the globe's still cracked, but we still got that old lantern. What was Grandma Ford's maiden name?
Grandma Ford.
Your mother?
Oh, Molly.
Molly?
Molly Ben Russell.
She was a Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all here from Albemarle.
Yeah, all around this area.
So you're Jesse Clark Ford was your granddaddy on your daddy's side, and who was your granddaddy on your mother's side?
William Russell.
William?
He'd say, William Alexander fell over a gander way out yonder.
So he was a Russell.
Yeah. And to begin with, when the first ones came over from Ireland, Scotland, whichever it was, They were draft dodgers. Their mothers, I don't know about their father, but all of his brothers, there's 3 of them, came over. And the oldest ones had already been drafted into the English Army. And to keep the rest of them from being drafted into the English Army, she sent the last 3 over here. And on down, I don't know how many generations later on, couldn't have been very long. One of them, John Ford, was one of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence signers.
And he spelled it F-O-A-R-D.
Yeah.
Well, was Grandpa Ford's brothers and sisters, were they F-O-R-Ds? And did they continue the F-O-A-R-D, or was...
I think they continued. As far as I know, they still.
So if we were really looking for some of our ancestors back very far, we'd look at F-O-A-R-Ds.
Yeah. Anytime I see anybody that spells it with F-O-A-R-D, I know we're related.
Well, now, what was the story on that? Didn't you say that one of them, that when they all came over, they were all spelled it the same, and one did one, or did...
No, they all spelled it F-O-R-D to begin with. And when they came over here to this country, they added the A so they could keep their descendants separate. I mean, know who they were.
Okay. And then Robert Ford, your dad, the one that kind of just took the A out of it and went back to F-O-R. And he probably didn't do that legally, did he? He just decided to take it out.
That's probably right. I don't know.
Well, at one time, where we live right now, where you live right now, here in this house, wasn't behind the house back here, wasn't there an old wagon trail? That old road back there?
There was an old road, I don't know.
So when you were growing up, did y'all have color TV, or was it black and white?
We didn't have TV of any kind.
What'd you do?
I remember when radio started.
Really? When would that come in?
About 1920. It was in the early 20s, I believe it was. And only the first one I ever saw had to have headphones to hear it.
A radio?
Yeah. Only one person could listen to it at the time.
And then well, I remember when black and white TV, I guess it was, what, 1952? Was it after the war? Did we have television before the war? World War II?
I was trying to think whether we did or not. I'm not sure. No, we didn't have color TV.
No, color TV didn't come into, maybe that's what I'm thinking about, is when color TV came into existence, because that was Walt Disneyland, or whatever they called it, was on TV. It was one of the few color TV shows on.
And the first TV we ever bought was the big size. It had a 14-inch screen. Seemed like they had a 12 and a 14-inch. We got the 14-inch.
Did you have an outside antenna, kind of like we do still today, up on the roof?
Yeah, I think so.
There wasn't probably too many different television stations then either. Charlotte, I guess, was the only station around.
I guess WBT first.
Yeah, well, WBT probably was one of the forerunners. Well, tell us about your school days. How was school? All big one room?
You mean both of them?
How was school when you were growing up? One classroom for all kids, or?
No. We had, there's probably more than one grade in a room. I believe it was. And I had a blind math teacher one year.
You mean he really couldn't see?
No, he was blind as a bat.
Well, how did he teach?
Well, we had a small room, maybe 10 or 12 foot square. Had benches all around the wall. It wasn't just a little country schoolhouse. And we would sit on those benches around the wall. And I don't know how he got started. I don't remember this first one he asked a question. There was a boy, Houston Howard. This blind school teacher boarded at Houston Howard's home. And Houston would lead him around from their home back down to the schoolhouse and then back, and everywhere he went, I guess. And one day, when he'd ask a question, he'd say, all right, now who's next? Somebody tell me who was next, you know, and he'd call them by name, and then he'd ask them a question. Came on around and said, all right, who's next? And this Houston Howard spoke up and said, Ford. And I said, that's not my name. He said, what is your name? I said, Russell Ford. And he hauled off and hit that boy.
Well, Matthew likes to hear this, and I'm sure that Kenneth will hear it one more time since he's out here. But give us that little joke about spelling by syllables.
Oh, had these kids standing up in a line, kind of spelling bees. You'd ask one guy how to spell a word, you know, and then the next and on down the line. Came to this boy. This is a boy named John Ray. He's bad the Peach Boys. And the teacher gave out to the boy standing next to him, gave him out the word baker to spell. He was spelling in syllables. He said, B-A, bay. About that time, John Ray pinched him. He said, B-A, bay. Quit that, John Ray. K-E-R pinching me.
There's another one I'll get you to tell later. That's Sharon's favorite. She'll want to hear it. They don't know us and we don't know them. No. So you'll have to tell that one more time.
I'll tell you one other thing happened in school. I was sitting in the very back desk next to the wall, sitting in a split bottom straight chair. You know how the desks were built then, the person in front of it sat on the seat that was fastened to your desk.
Yeah.
Well, the screws to these legs that held it to the floor, they were out or loose or something. And this boy sitting right in front of me just kept my desk rocking up and down, up and down. I couldn't do a thing. And I kept asking the teacher to have Bill to stop rocking my desk. She wouldn't even speak to him. So one day he started rocking my desk, and I believe it was the 7th grade. We had these big old red back geography books. I stood up in my chair, and I came down across the top of his head with that geography book, almost knocked him through his seat. The teacher never even looked up or anything, but he never rocked my desk another time.
Well, did y'all have inkwells?
Mm-hmm.
What? Just a pen you dip in ink to write? Y'all didn't have ballpoint pens back then.
Yeah.
Pencils, you had the great big old horse leg pencils probably.
No, just regular
Pencils.
pencil.
You didn't write with charcoal on pieces of bark, right?
Parchment.
Well, you probably remember some of the early automobiles then too.
Well, back as far as I can remember, my daddy and a lawyer, don't remember his name right now, had a T-model Ford, owned it together. And get up on a cold morning, didn't have self-starters, you know, had a crank, get out in front and crank it. And if they kicked back, it'd break your thumb.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they'd jack up the back wheel, let the emergency brakes off, that would put it in gear. In high gear, you'll forward. Well, jack up the back wheel, and somebody they crank better like that. You got to twist that crank. And
I'd hate to have to crank a car today like that. I wouldn't go very far.
I know at school one day, somebody, I don't know where that was one of these kind you crank up or not. Anyway, somebody about there jacked up his rear wheels, put a block that hold them up off the ground. He out there and cranked up and he couldn't go anywhere.
Well, I get what could you just pick up those cars manually? You'd have to have a jack.
Well, I've seen them just pick up the whole front end or the back end. A good strong boy could get out there and pick up the front end of it.
Well, did y'all have refrigerators or did you use ice boxes?
Ice boxes.
When did refrigerators come around?
I don't remember.
What they do, just come through every day and selling blocks of ice?
Yeah. They'd have you really call it a hack. I mean, the thing, all milk like that is called a hack anyway.
But even back then, all houses had indoor plumbing, didn't they?
Not all houses.
Really? A lot of the residential houses had outhouses?
Out in the country they did, and I don't know about it in town.
Grandma Fritz did, didn't she?
She had
For a
out-
long time,
Yeah.
yeah. But there were motherland. And what did you heat a house with? There was no central heat.
Fireplace, wood, and coal. Had a regular grate that would hold coal, set it in the fireplace, build a fire in it. What was you? You don't know us, and we don't. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Sharon wants that one. Let me check this film, make sure we got plenty. I don't know why she thinks that joke is so funny. After you've heard it about 15 or 20 times.
Funny anymore.
All right, go ahead and tell us that joke, because Sharon want to hear that one.
This man, he did a lot of traveling, and he had reservations at a certain motel. And he went that night to pick up his keys to his room, went down to the desk. Well, there's several people standing around the desk wanting room when he walked up. It was a cold, rainy night, and the desk clerk told the lady that, or told him, said, "You're lucky that you have reservations," said, "We don't have any more vacancies." But he picked up his key and went on to his room. He had much more. He got in his room, pulled off his jacket, they heard a knock on the door. And he opened the door, and there stood this same lady that had been standing around the desk up there wanting room. And when he opened the door, she said, "Sir." He said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I need a place to spend the night. It's just too bad to be out. Seemed like you got the last vacancy and you're all alone. And I just wondered if it would be all right if I came in and slept on your sofa." He said, "Well, since I don't know you and you don't know me, we don't know them and they don't know us, I guess maybe it would be all right." So she came on in, he fixed her place on the sofa, went on back to his bedroom and went to bed. Over the night, after a while, he heard a knock on his door, and he opened the door, and there stood this woman. She said, "Sir," and he said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I'm cold. Are you warm enough?" And he said, "Yeah." He was very comfortable. She said, "Well, I was just wondering, since you don't know me and I don't know you, we don't know them and they don't know us, I wonder if I could get in bed with you and get warm." And he said, "Well, since you don't know me and I don't know you, we don't know them and they don't know us, and I guess it would be all right." So she got in bed with him. Then way over just before daylight, she woke him up. She said, "Sir," and he said, "Yes, ma'am." Said, "I just wondered, since I don't know you and you don't know me and we don't know them and they don't know us, how would you like to have a party?" He said, "Well, since I don't know you and you don't know me, we don't know them and they don't know us, who would we invite?"
I think that one's Sharon's favorite.
That's even better than the woman skiing down the slope.
Yeah, it is. Now, the one that David likes, and he still don't quite understand it, is the one about the letter. The guy that gets the letter, he was dating a girl from France or somewhere. You remember that one?
Yeah.
David doesn't quite understand that one yet, I don't think. So you better tell it one more time.
Back during the war, this American was stationed in France. He fell in love with this little French girl. And then they were going to send him back home. So he asked this French girl to marry him. And she told him that she just couldn't give him her answer right then, for him to come on home, and as soon as she decided, she would write him and let him know. So he came on back home. Wasn't long till he got a letter from her, and actually it was written in French, and he couldn't read French. So he caught the next boat back to France. He just knew she had accepted his proposal. So he got over in France and was way over in the night. And he said, well, he just get him a room in a hotel, go around and see her the next day. So he checked into a hotel, went on up to his room, and he decided he just wanted to know what was in that letter. So he got dressed, went down to the desk, told the clerk, said, I have a letter here written in French, and I can't read French. Would you translate it for me? He said, yeah, let me see the letter. So he handed the clerk the letter. He read a few lines, handed the letter back to him, said, you better get out of this hotel. We don't keep people like you in our hotel. So he got his luggage and got out on the street. He was walking down the street and he saw a policeman walking along. So he went over to the policeman and said, I have a letter here written in French and I can't read it. I was wondering if you'd translate it for me. I'd really like to know what's in it. Said, I was just kicked out of a hotel on account of it. So the policeman said, yeah, let me see the letter. I'll translate it for you. So he gave the policeman the letter. He read a few lines, handed the letter back, said, you better move on down the street. I'll have to lock you up. Said, can't have people like you walking around on the street. So he took the letter, went on down the street. It was beginning to get over toward daylight then. And he saw a light in a window, and he looked in, he saw his priest in there studying, getting up his sermon. So he went and knocked on the door, and the priest came to the door, and he said, Father, said, I have a letter here, it's written in French, and I'd really love to know what it says, that I can't read French. Well, would you translate it for me? And the priest said, sure, I'll translate it for you. He said, where's the letter? Man reached his hand in his pocket and the letter was gone.
Yeah, David keeps saying, well, what was on the letter? What did the letter say? I don't understand that. What did the letter say? Let's take a quick pause here and we'll come right back. Finally got Mama away from watching Hee Haw to come in here and be with us. She had to watch some child stars in there, some clogging and whatnot. Y'all just recently got back from Dollywood or Dollywood, huh? Was that up there somewhere?
Dollywood.
Did they do things like that there? Did you see some shows?
Oh.
We saw a good show down in Dollywood, and we saw another one that was up near Gatlinburg.
We saw one in Nashville, Boots Randolph, which was a real good show.
Yeah, we saw Boots Randolph.
Stampede.
Well, tell me where y'all have done a lot of traveling after you got rid of me and Russ out of the house. You started traveling. Where y'all have done? You gone to Hawaii? Where have you been?
I don't know. I said we're on the East Coast. We went on a cruise one time down to Nassau, Bahamas.
How many nights and days was that?
About a week, 5 days.
5 days, I believe it was.
When was it you went to Hawaii?
Several years ago.
Brian was what, about 2, 3, 4 years old?
Well, it's been a long time since we've been there.
Must have been
About time
15 years ago.
Time for us to go back again.
Let's see. We've been to. Have y'all been to Epcot
Yeah,
down in Orlando?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't go with us to Epcot though. You went with us
One
to
time
Disney World, didn't we? No, we've never taken Kenneth and David to Epcot.
Well,
Y'all must have gone on a tour or something.
we did. We went with what tour did we go with? Was it our church tour? No, it wasn't our church tour. Yes, it was
I
too.
believe it was.
It was with Tommy Wilson. Yeah, our associate minister.
Got one coming up anytime soon?
No.
Not that I know of, but I hope so.
Well, what they told me that I ought to do is go back to Memphis and do a lot of filming of Memphis and bring it and give it to Dewey so he could show it and interest some people in going to Memphis on a tour.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, a lot of people are interested in Memphis, but I guess some just haven't. Well, I noticed in Christian Tour, they have a lot of tours up there.
Through Memphis?
Yeah.
Probably. If y'all ever come to Memphis, we'll take you to Bellevue Baptist Church. It's horrendous. It's a huge, huge church. It's a Baptist church. You'd like it. We were asking Daddy a little while ago about his mother and daddy. So we have to ask you a couple of questions, I guess. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I don't have to count them. I know I have 2 sisters.
You got to tell me their names and the oldest down through the youngest.
Well, let me see.
Including you. You got to fit yourself in there now. Who's the oldest?
Curtis.
Curtis?
Curtis Green.
Now, and this gets complicated because your real mother passed away, right? And your daddy remarried.
Yes.
So Curtis was your full brother.
Yes.
And then who came next? Granville?
Granville. Pauline, then
Pauline?
she lives in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And me.
You.
Well, and now that's all of
That's
us.
all of the first 4.
First
And then what was your
first
mother's
marriage.
name?
Julia May.
Julia May? What was her maiden
Julia May
name?
Dry.
Dry?
Her daddy was a preacher.
Oh, no.
Methodist preacher.
And your daddy's name was? Your daddy's name?
Arthur.
Arthur Frick.
Arthur what?
Frick.
I know, but what was his middle name?
Arthur Carpenter.
Arthur Carpenter
Frick.
Frick. Okay. And then he remarried. Your daddy remarried.
Yes.
And he married
Ora Howard.
Ora Howard. How old were you then?
About 18 months,
Yeah, I
2
think
years.
I was close, about 18 months old.
Well, then your mother died when you were just a little baby.
I don't remember. I don't even remember my mother at all. My stepmother's the only mother I know of.
What did she die of? Do you know?
I don't know. The doctor never knew. It was some kind of stomach trouble. But back then, you know,
They didn't do a lot.
know hardly, really.
All right. Then how many half brothers and sisters did you have? Who was next?
Gladys, and then Wade, and let's see, Albert, Ray, Kenneth. You know, he was killed.
He was the baby.
No, Sylvester was the baby.
So where would Kenneth have fit in? Was Kenneth one of your real brothers or half brother?
He was.
Half brother.
He was my half
He came
brother.
in between Ray and Sylvester.
What was his full name? Kenneth?
I forgot his other name, Kenneth. I forgot what his name is. He was in service, and when he came home from service, then he was killed in a car wreck.
But he was just on leave or something,
Yes,
wasn't
on
he?
leave, yeah. He had one
Who
of his
didn't
friends.
somebody run into him? Or did they run off the road? Or?
Didn't they run into a back of a
I
truck?
don't
Or the
remember.
truck run into them? I've forgotten how it really happened, but
And is that where my Kenneth came from? Gerald Kenneth?
well, his
My
name
middle
was
name?
Kenneth, but I don't believe his name was Gerald.
No, I'm saying me.
Yeah.
Did you pick up the Kenneth that's in my name
I probably did.
from
I
him?
guess. Yeah, I probably yeah.
Makes a nice story, say yes.
Yes, because we like the name Kenneth. We like the name Kenneth.
I was overseas when he got
Yeah,
killed.
Russell was overseas whenever Kenneth was killed.
Oh, how old was he?
Well, he was in service. He was in the Navy, I believe.
He must have been in his early 20s.
Yeah, he was probably, yeah. Or maybe not quite that old.
Well, let's see. Well, then how old was Russ when Daddy was called into the service?
He was 4.
4 years old.
Russ was 4?
Back then, there was a song kind of popular, Pistol Packing Mama. Well, Russ sang it, Pencil Packing Mama. And when I left to go to the bus station going down to Fort Bragg, he was singing Pencil Packing Mama.
And where did y'all live while Daddy was overseas?
On Palmer Street.
Over there on Palmer?
Yeah, West Albemarle.
And I heard something about, there's some Russ tells about while Daddy was overseas, y'all got on a train, Kenneth, Russ and
Yeah.
you got on a train and went somewhere?
New
What
Jersey to see Pauline
was that, just where'd you get on the passenger train at?
in Salisbury. Granville was living then. He carried us to Salisbury, and we got on we went on a train there, and then we stayed several weeks. I've forgotten how long.
She was married then, I guess, huh?
Who?
Pat
Oh,
and
yeah,
Pauline,
Pat and
right?
Pauline, yeah.
He didn't go into service?
No. Patricia was a baby then. She...
Bobby was a baby, wasn't he? Maybe it's Patricia.
No, it was Patricia because of She was about the age of,
She was about the same age as Russ. She had been
Yeah.
around 4 years old.
well, yeah, but, yeah, we stayed up there, I don't know, several weeks. And then when we went back on the train to,
That was probably, was that an old coal burning train then? Old
Yeah.
Puffer Belly, wasn't it?
yeah, Granville.
How long did it take to get there?
Well, I had to change trains and, well, where did I change trains? Can't remember, it's been so long ago.
Well, that was the major modes of
between here-
transportation then, wasn't it? Was
Yeah,
trains.
but I had to change between here and New Jersey.
Why didn't you fly?
Well, I don't know.
Were there?
You didn't
Back
hear
then,
fly
you didn't hear
airplanes,
people
you know,
flying.
people flying then. See, that's been years and years ago. Gee.
That was before the jet age.
Well, Daddy was saying that his ancestors came from Scotland and Ireland. You think that's where Fords were basically from? Scotland and Ireland. Where did the Fricks come from?
Germany.
Germany. There was something. Is there somebody in your side of the family, Mother, that was a honeycut, or was it all dry?
Oh, dry. My real mother, you know, the one I don't remember, her daddy was a Methodist minister, preacher.
So your real
Yeah, he was a
mother.
Methodist preacher.
So your real mother was a dry, and he was a
Yes.
dry.
Mhm.
Now, see, Sharon isn't Sharon my wife? Isn't she related to the dries somewhere in the honeycuts? Honeycuts and dries or something back in that family somewhere or other. There's some crossing over, and I don't remember.
Might be. I don't remember.
Well, who was your? Let's see, who was your granddaddy then? On your daddy's side.
I don't remember him. He died, I
What was
guess.
his name?
Oh, gee, I don't even remember that either. He and my grandmother both, Fricks, both of them were dead whenever. I don't even know what their names were. I mean, I forgot. I guess I've heard, but it's been so long ago.
They were both dead before you were born, huh?
Yes, so I never heard a lot about it.
What did y'all do for entertainment? Daddy says there was no television.
We made our own.
Corn shuckings. And
I tell you what we did in Richville when I was growing up. Our neighbors, we all lived around. We all got together, maybe on Saturday nights, and made homemade ice cream. We'd all get our freezers together and make a lot of homemade ice cream.
Well, you know, we used to do that back when who were the people who lived across the street in the Steele's house? That used to live. The Aldridges.
Aldridge.
And maybe it was the Steeles, but I remember we used to make ice cream out here. We'd have fish fries in the backyard. Remember on that old furnace? Mm-hmm. And we'd do ice cream. And I remember us sitting out in our backyard watching Sputnik go over. Do y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. The first Russian satellite, and it had a dog in it. Mm-hmm. In the Sputnik. We used to sit out there at night and watch those things come over.
And Cut and Flavy would come over and say, let me see, who lived in the house below Betty's house now? When we first moved up here, we had the Clarks. We did really have a lot of fun but some of them moved
Most
away
everybody
now.
up here have furnace in their backyard.
And we'd go from
What's
place
a
to
furnace?
place.
Huh?
People don't know what a furnace is anymore.
Well, it was built up.
You built this one.
Yeah, maybe a square, and then a long oval.
Rectangular.
Rectangular. Yeah.
And what do you use for this top?
I used the top of an old wood burning cook stove.
And then you had a chimney on it.
Yeah, I built the furnace, the brick part, just to fit the top of this cook stove.
They cooked real good. We had this black iron frying pan, and Bob seems to me like one night we fried some fish or fried.
We fried
we
fish,
cooked
chicken,
everything up there.
chicken stew.
And we had a lot of fun of all the neighbors, but so many of them moved away
The
now.
only thing we didn't cook on it though was ice cream. We didn't.
Oh, we didn't cook ice
We didn't fry any, huh?
Well, we had a lot of fun back then. I keep thinking anything else.
Well, I remember, didn't you say you had a baby doll once made out of an iron pipe?
Oh, yes. I don't know where the little old pipe came from, but I carried it around like a baby doll. Gee, there were so many of us till when old Santa Claus, all we got was fruit. It was just fruit and some candy, and I didn't get a lot of toys when I was too many of
I
us.
told a girl down at Man's seat, and we got to talking, and talking about dolls, you know, and she said that when she grew up, she lived in the country, and there's so many of them, her father died, said she never got a doll. I said, I never had a doll either when I was growing up.
Well,
Well, we've been waiting for that clock to strike. It finally has decided to strike now while we're doing this. I hear that thing all night long. Do y'all hear it?
Yeah.
well, no, you could close the door if it
I didn't
bothers
hear it
you.
last night though. When I went to bed, I went to sleep and I didn't wake up till 6 o'clock.
I think it was about 2, I guess, when we went to bed.
No, I didn't know when you came in last night.
All right, what else exciting can you tell everybody?
Oh, let me see, I can't think.
Daddy's already told all his jokes.
Oh, he did? You know what? He goes, his Sunday school class, you know, they all meet in there before they really start their lesson. I mean, and he tells them jokes, and I think they look forward to Russell coming in every Sunday morning with a new joke.
Well, he probably picks up some of them on his bus
Some of
trip.
them, I said, don't you tell that joke up there. But it's all men, so they don't mind it. I don't know.
Oh, y'all celebrated a 50th wedding anniversary already.
50.
I mean, but you had a 50th wedding anniversary
Yes,
party.
the first
Five
That
wedding.
was-
years ago.
What's
5
50?
Five
Gold?
years ago. 5 years ago, we had we celebrated it at our church.
So you got 55.
And now we've been married 55 years. And we're still growing strong. Most people our age are a lot of them, some of them in wheelchairs.
A lot of them are 6 feet under too.
All right, here's a quiz for you. Give me the names and ages of all your grandkids.
Oh, I can't do that. I mean, I can't remember all that. I mean, my mind, I can't think like I used to. I'm forgetful. Russell probably can tell you.
No, I can't. I know O'Brien and O'Brien's about a year older than Kenneth, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, Brian must be about 21, maybe 22.
Right in
And
there.
how old?
Kenneth's 20.
Yeah, he's
And then
older.
let's see, is Kathy next?
Let's see,
Or
Kathy,
David? Yeah, Kathy, I believe, was driving before David.
Yeah.
So it'd be
and
Kathy, then David,
David,
and then Matthew.
Matthew. So, one little granddaughter and 4 grandsons.
Yep.
But I'm proud of all of
That
them.
means that Fords go strong. See,
That's
I was
right.
telling them down at Dewey's tonight that when we were up here, everybody in this house had the same last name. We all had something in common. We were all Fords. I said, but down here it's just a hodgepodge. There's a few Sonys and Sanjis and Sides. So it's all mixed up. All right, Daddy's going to tell us something here.
It's not a joke. This black woman was in a grocery store, and some lady walked over to her and wondered what kind of cornmeal. She was a Yankee lady. What kind of cornmeal could she get to make some good cornbread? The old woman said, "Law, white folks said don't make no difference what kind of cornmeal you get." Said, "With that accent, you ain't gonna make no cornbread fit to eat no."
Well, what was the joke about the collard greens and the flies in the restaurant?
This man went in a restaurant where they were cooking collard greens and chitlins at the same time. Said, only place in the world I'd ever seen where flies trying to get out.
Well, you know, I've talked to, I guess maybe, I never thought it was quite that country, a dish, but a lot of people I talk to, and they laugh when I talk about eating persimmon pudding, and creasy greens and stuff like that. They've never heard of such a thing. I don't know if that's indicative to this area or whatnot.
It probably wouldn't do to put it on the tape. But this man came down here from Concord in air conditioning. And he'd been here a few days, and I said, well, how do you like it down here? He said, I like it. I like it fine. I said, I like the way the town's laid out. I don't know how long it's been dead, but I like the way it's laid out. He said, they call this Persimmon Town anyway. And I said, well, I've lived here most all my life, and I never heard it called that. He said, yes, and they used to live down here, and his daddy always called it Persimmon Town. I said, well, I never heard it called that, but I'll tell you what I have heard. I said, where are you from? He said, Concord. I said, there used to be a little train ran through Concord. One day the conductor sat down on the seat, laid his head back, and went to sleep. So the little old boy got a stick and went back to the bathroom, brought it back and held it up under the conductor's nose. He didn't even open his eyes. He just called out, Concord! He never did mention Persimmon Town to me again.
Well, persimmons are everywhere because we've got them over in Memphis, and we picked them and we've made puddings over there too. So I cut it in long pieces and gave some to my boss, who's a Yankee, and he calls it persimmon sticks.
Oh, you know down there where Matthew saw these cows chewing their cud, chewing gum.
Yeah.
That was in
Then,
Richmond Hill, wasn't it?
No,
Or
down
that
there.
little
Oh, down-
Rock Creek.
Yeah.
Oh,
That we were walking, we go down there to walk, and he was with me.
These cows laying out there chewing their cud. He said, look at them cows, they're chewing gum. Well,
He had,
along there's a bunch of persimmon trees, and they were just loaded with persimmons.
Matthew liked to walk along there. He'd pick up rocks and he liked to throw them, in that little branch of water. He'd like to hear them, fall.
well, he's always liked to throw rocks in water.
Yeah, he enjoyed that.
Okay.